Already at the middle of the busy broadcast week. And it's great to be with you once again, folks. Rush Limbaugh here at the distinguished and prestigious Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies. We've been studying advanced conservatism for 27 plus years. There's one place in this world, in this country, you can go and never have a doubt. And it's right here, the EIB network. I mean, I'm talking about advanced conservatism. Telephone number if you want to be on the program, 800-282-2882, and the email address, lrushbo@eibnet.com. Yogi Berra passed away at 90. You know, you're always surprised. I am, anyway. I'm always surprised. You may find this tough to believe, but I'm always surprised to find out who listens to this program. And I remember the first year I was at the Bob Hope Chrysler Classic. First year I was invited to play. There's always a dinner that the organizers throw, or it's actually a heavy hors d'oeuvre cocktail reception, around 5:30 or 6 p.m. The tournament starts on a Wednesday. It's a 5-day tournament. It was. And it's always a Tuesday night. And I had, this was the tournament, first time I'd met Arnold Palmer. Fuzzy Zeller's guest. And Yogi Berra was in there, and I was just, I mean, when he saw me, folks, please, you mustn't know why I tell you this, it was such an honor. His eyes lit up. He walked over to me and grabbed my hand and shook it. And I was just stunned. I don't know, I always am, I'm surprised to find out who listens. And he said, let me ask you a question. Are you walking or you riding a cart? And I said, they told me I had to walk. He said, you don't. I'm in a cart. They're letting me ride. If you want to ride, I'll put in a word for you. And I said, well, I've already committed to walking. And, you know, Yogi, I mean, this isn't even golf for me. It's hit a shot and sign 50 autographs on the way to the next shot and hit the shot. And, yeah, I know. In a cart, you won't have to do that as much. I said, I know, but I committed to it. And then every time I saw him after that, he was the same way. Now, when I worked for the Royals, I saw him all over the place when the Yankees were in, but I never went up spoke to him. I was a peon. You know, I was in the room, but I wouldn't dare go up and talk to him. But it was just, he's one of those people that's famous that you meet them and they're exactly what you want them to be. Everybody loved Yogi, but you know, Hanna-Barbera to this day maintains that Yogi Bear was not named after Yogi Berra. And he believed them. He originally he wanted to get in on the action or sue them or something, his advisors did, but they maintained throughout his life it was this. It's a coincidence, Yogi. And he ended up believing them and didn't fight it after much of his first effort. He was 90 years old. And you know what Yogi would have probably said? If you'd have told him yesterday he was going to die, you know what? If I'd known I was going to live so long, I probably wouldn't have gotten so old. He really said these things. The New York Post today has a collection of 35 of them. You know, you've heard the famous, if you come to a fork in the road, take it. Well, he meant it because he was giving somebody directions to his house in New Jersey, and either road you took would get you to his house. So if you come to a fork in the road, take it was you can't make a mistake here. Take either one you want and until you'll get to my house. Nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded. They asked him once, you had a couple of streakers at a baseball game, man and woman streaking across the outfield nude. And he's, Yogi, did you notice it was a man and a woman? No, they had towels over their heads. He was checking out of a hotel and he couldn't get his suitcase closed. Somebody called a bellman. What's the problem? So he said, your towels are too thick. He was stealing towels from the family. Ah, jeez. I met Joe DiMaggio, too, one night at 21 in New York. Those are people from a bygone era. And I've always said that one of the greatest perks of the success I've had here's the people that it has afforded me the opportunity to meet. So I had to tell that little story just because Yogi was such everything you thought he would be if you ever had a chance to meet him. That's what he would be. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, the Pope is here. In fact, Obama was fashionably late at Joint Base Andrews yesterday. I don't know if you saw this. You can get flight tracking software, and they put the Pope in a holding pattern. They put the Pope's jet in a holding pattern out there over North Carolina, did a couple of ovals out there, telling the Pope he had to wait because the Obamas were late getting to Joint Base Andrews. Now, what it might actually be is that the Pope was early. The White House said, hey, we didn't do anything wrong here. We were supposed to be there at 4 o'clock, and we were. The Pope's plane was early. And so rather than Obama adjusting, they had the Pope's plane. And I'm thinking how many fossil fuel pollutants are burned up there as the Pope is doing his ovals, which is what they put you in when you're in a holding pattern. By the way, there's news out there besides the Pope's visit today. We want to try to cover as much of this as we can. It involves the presidential campaign. Such, just off the top of my head, Rubio's pulled ahead of Jeb Bush in the polls in Florida. Rubio has attacked Trump on the fact that there hasn't been any substance in foreign policy. So Trump is going to now attack Rubio as he's promised that he would do. There are a couple of vicious, I say vicious, there are a couple of hit pieces coming here on Carly Fiorina, which is predictable. I mean, she's the perceived winner of the most recent debate. We will share those with you. Trump still leads in Iowa. Depending on the poll you look at, Hillary is up or Hillary is down. There's all kinds of confusing news coming out of Washington about the FBI and the Justice Department and their emails. And I want to try to put that in some sort of focus for you. And then, folks, I don't know if it's karma or cosmic or what have you, but this is the first day of Pope Francis's visit to the United States. And by the way, I don't know how many people are aware, the real reason he's here is what's happening in Philadelphia on Saturday. There's some organization, I can't think of it off the top of my head, related to the family or something, and they invited the Pope to attend this thing, and that's the impetus for his trip. And once he made the decision to come, then, of course, you have to add Washington to the itinerary. But my only point in saying so is that the whole reason for this is not a state visit kind of thing. Washington's not an afterthought, but it was a late addition to the trip. What's happening in Philadelphia on Saturday is actually the primary reason the Pope's here. And, of course, everybody's milking it. They're going to do the most they can with this, which has already started. But look at these two stories I have here on the just same day the Pope is here. I don't know if it means anything or not, but I mean, they're out there. San Francisco Chronicle, casual sex with your friend's old boyfriend isn't always a bad thing. You know, whenever the liberals engage in aberrant behavior, after a certain passage of time, what they then do is try to create the fact that it's now normal. What was once aberrant behavior or considered to be immoral behavior or just wrong, bad manners or whatever, you can count on liberals engaging in it. And then after a while, after enough time has gone by, because they don't want to be judged that way, they'll get their buddies in the press to do studies and stories, and, this is fine and dandy. It's absolutely normal. In fact, there's no harm, no foul here. Kind of like, didn't take long, 2 years of the Clinton administration, we started getting stories on how white lies actually help people. lying is helpful because it prevents hurt feelings and all that. Well, casual sex with your friend's old boyfriend isn't always a bad thing. When two guys have sex with the same woman, they're Eskimo brothers, and that can be great. And against the San Francisco Chronicle, if any of you are fans of the show The League, you're familiar with the character Taco and his efforts to build a database of Eskimo brothers. The term refers not to the unpolitically correct way to address the Intuit family members. What is it, politically incorrect to call them Eskimos now? Is it really? If it is, I didn't know that. You have to refer to them as the Intuits? Or Inuits? I'm not even sure how you pronounce it. Wow. Anyway, the term refers to the non-politically correct way to address the Inuit family members, rather people who become related to each other when they have sex with someone in common. That's what an Eskimo brother is. One of my best friends from college and I had similar taste in men, and we look alike, which led to us being Eskimo sisters multiple times, which is nice because I love her like a sister. Casual sex, casual, hooking up with your friend's old boyfriend. That's not a bad thing. No harm, no foul, no big deal. In fact, it's perfectly normal now and should be promoted. And here is the next one. And this was also in a mainstream leftist publication, Salon.com. I'm a pedophile, but not a monster. This, I kid you not, is a story that puts a friendly smile or friendly spin on pedophilia. Hey, yeah, I'm a pedophile, but I'm not a bad guy. I'm not a monster, and I don't like being thought of that way. There's nothing wrong with pedophilia. Don't give me any crap about it anymore. That's the tone of the story. And you can make book on the fact that all of this similar kind of behavior, after it goes on long enough, the left then comes along and does things like this. Stories like this to normalize it and naturalize it and make it seem like it's perfectly fine and none of your business anyway, and don't you dare judge and don't you dare condemn. Or we're going to tell Obama, and Obama's going to target the IRS on you, or some such thing. Hillary Clinton has come out against the Keystone Pipeline. Folks, I hope she's doubling her security, because she's doing things here. She and her husband have taken multiple millions of dollars in donations and speaking fees, personally, from banks and other industries in favor of the Keystone Pipeline. She has taken money. I mean, what is the $3.6 million total. Investors have given both Clintons combined $3.4 million right into their pockets. This is not for their little crime family foundation. This is straight to them. Canada banks are among the largest contributors. And Mrs. Clinton used to be for the Keystone XL pipeline. It's one of the ways she was trying to distinguish herself from the regime as she was establishing her campaign. Now she has decided to saddle up with Tom Steyer and Warren Buffett. Where do these Canadian banks go to get their money back? Their money has just been wasted. They didn't give the Clintons this money because they like them. They didn't give them this money because they want to hang out with them. They gave them this money because they thought the Clintons were going to support the Keystone XL pipeline. If Mrs. Clinton was elected, and there's another pharmaceuticals. Clintons paid at least $1.6 million for speeches to drug companies. And Hillary now, since her campaign is floundering out there, Hillary's running around ripping into pharmaceuticals now. Big pharma, big drug, which is what all Democrats always do. But Hillary was not doing that while taking their money. So $3.4 million from Canada, $1.6 million from the drug. We're up at $5 million that people have given the Clintons, and they've just been screwed. Unless Hillary has with the pharmaceutical companies, unless she's doing a little wink, think, okay, yeah, fine. You understand I've got to rip you in public, but don't pay any attention to it. I'm in there with you. I'm all for you, but I got to condemn you in public. You understand? And if they say, oh, fine and dandy. Here's another $1 million. Have at it. If there's not some arrangement like that, there got to be some ticked off people. The Pope apparently has been told that I referred to him as a Marxist. I have an audio soundbite from a guy confirming it. That's why the Pope is out there saying he's not a liberal. He went up and down the aisle of his plane yesterday on the way from Cuba to Joint Base Andrews, telling anybody he was not a lefty and that he's not leftish. He says sometimes it sounds that way, but he's not. Okay, that's cool. Not my problem. I take a brief time out. We'll come back. We will continue here. Your phone calls again coming up at 800-282-2882. How about this? Here's a typical mindless story that is designed to create fear and panic. Have you seen the story that more people are being killed taking selfies than are being killed by sharks? So what? What are we supposed to stop taking selfies? Or are we supposed to stop surfing and swimming where there are sharks? So what? What kind of comparison is that? What's the objective? What's the news value here? What's the point? The point is to scare you. The point is to set circumstances up where you need regulations and a government to protect you, because left to your own devices, you'll go out and engage in things that will kill you, doing things even stupider than trying to swim with sharks. That's the long-term objective. I got to take a brief time out. Sit tight, my friends. We are coming right back. Don't go away. Greetings and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rush Limbaugh having more fun than a human being should be allowed to have. I just checked the email. Rush, yesterday when you started the program, you said you went through things. Don't care, don't care, don't care. Do you still not care today? No. I'm a little bit more revved up. There's more to care about today. I mean, yesterday there was nothing in there that interested me. I mean, I really had to. Yesterday was a grind, and I never have to grind out this show. But I'm just telling you, yesterday was a grind. I asked Snerdley. I said, Snerdley, because I got an email when I got home last night. This is one of the greatest shows you've ever done. This is way. And I said, this can't be. I said, this always amazes me. I mean, that show yesterday, I thought I was going to come in here and apologize to you. I mean, who wants to hear me talk about, I don't care about that, don't care about that. They're probably scared a lot of you. So I asked Snerdley. I said, shoot me straight out there. Say sooth. Yesterday's show, well, yeah, it was really, really good. I wouldn't put it up there in the clouds with the greats, but it wasn't bad. I don't know who told you that, but nobody told me that. I thought it was bad. He said, no. It was perfectly cool. And then I said to myself, what does he know? He misses half of it screening calls. Well, I know he is, but I told him not to suck up. I said, I don't want to hear suck up. I want to hear the honest assessment. I feel bad when I think I have not met expectations. Anyway, folks, have you seen the little automobile that the Pope is being driven around in? I had not seen it. I'd heard that he was being driven around in a tiny car, but I didn't think anything about it. I thought something Pope-mobile. So I'm watching the arrival at the White House today, and I see this little Fiat drive up, and I said, no, you've got to be kidding. And sure enough, the Pope got out of it. I mean, it was it looked like one of those tiny little PT Cruiser things. And it looked like the Pope was in there pretty tight. Had some help getting out of the thing. What just flew from Italy to Cuba to here, circling over North Carolina for a half hour, 45 minutes, and show up in this. Yeah, I know. It's a good thing the segment's over. Okay. We'll be back. Yeah, the Pope-mobile is a Jeep, but not this limo that he's driving around in. I mean, they had the picture of the motorcade heading in from Joint Base Andrews into the city, and this little car that the Pope is in so tiny that it straddles the center line of the two lanes, and then the SUVs, the Suburbans and Escalades, whatever else they are There are two behind it and two in front. So those four SUVs make a square, and the Pope's little car there is in the middle. That's how tiny it is. I read that it's a Fiat. I have a very low-resolution picture of it, so I can't find out the icon, the logo on the back of the car. Looks like it says Chrysler on it. It can't be a Chrysler. Did Obama sell Chrysler to the Italians? I know he sold Jeep to the Italians. But I read that it's a Fiat. But it's just tiny. But I don't know. It struck me because here's the Pope on this giant Airbus A330, flying from Italy to Cuba, United States, circling over North Carolina for a couple loops, and then driving around in this little thing that with the windows down to boot. Anyway, it just looked different, and I know the Pope's trying to make a visual impression here as not being ostentatious. Let's go to the audio sound bites. The White House this morning. You know, this was markedly different before we get to the sound bites. I just remembered this. During the second term of George W. Bush, Pope Benedict showed up, and it was his birthday. And I was so moved by that I actually, right at 12 noon, I called the White House, and I asked for somebody, I think it was Karl Rove, I said, I just need 30 seconds. And I don't want him to go on the air, I just need 30 seconds with the president. I don't think there's no way, no we can't, but let me check. And they got him. And I spent just 30 seconds telling him how moving that entire ceremony was for me. And it was, folks. And I'm not saying anything about this one today. It was different. Kathleen Battle, great opera soprano, sang Happy Birthday to Pope Benedict, and it was the most powerful rendition of Happy Birthday to You I have ever heard. The U.S. Army Chorus sang the Battle Hymn of the Republic. And it was the most moving version of that. I was so moved by it, I recorded the audio of that off of television. Television audio, not that great. And I have a dubbed copy of it in iTunes. And after that, I went out, tried to find the actual studio recording of that. I got as close as I could to it. But the whole... Yeah, I know. We rolled it off. You have that here. It was just moving. I know you people listening back. I replayed this over and over again. President Bush was just stellar. This ceremony was about God, Christ, country. I mean, it was exactly what the country needed at the time. It wasn't about a single political issue. It was one of the most... I was riveted. I couldn't take my eyes off of it, which is why I did everything I could. I just wanted to tell President Bush that on the phone. And they found him running around on his way somewhere between meetings. And this today was markedly different. I'm not rendering a judgment on it whatsoever. Do not anybody put words in my mouth that I'm not saying. I'll just tell you that this ceremony today was shorter. There was less fanfare. There was not nearly the that I can recall the pomp or circumstance. But the White House ceremony, the greeting ceremony for Pope Benedict, it just kept coming, one tribute after another. The fact it was his birthday, I think, was a factor as well. But the Army Chorus, the Battle Hymn of the Republic, it just still gives me chills when I think about hearing it. Maybe we'll play it for you here in just a second. But let's get to the audio sound bites. What happened at the ceremony today was the Pope was welcomed, and this was every agenda that they have in common on parade. Income inequality, immigration, Cuba, climate change, pollution. I mean, it was the left-wing agenda, and it was front and center at full speed.
You call on all of us, Catholic and non-Catholic alike, to put the least of these at the center of our concerns. You remind us that in the eyes of God, our measure as individuals and our measure as a society is not determined by wealth or power or station or celebrity, but by how well we hew to Scripture's call to lift up the poor and the marginalized, to stand up for justice and against inequality.
You know me, folks. I just can't let this stuff go by. I don't think the U.S. has anything to apologize for in these struggles, the struggles to lift up the poor. There is not a country in the history of humanity that's done more for the poor. There's not a country that has elevated more people out of poverty than the United States. There's not a country that has helped more people out of poverty around the world than the United States. I mean, we are not the problem. The American people are not the problem. We're not coming up short. We have, since our concerted effort in the war on poverty started in 1964, we're now up to something like 14 or 15 trillion dollars has been transfer payments from income tax revenues from people at work to the poor. That's significant. Certainly isn't insignificant. The marginalized, we all know what that is. Marginalized. That's behavioral minorities, such as lesbians and gays, bisexuals, transgenders. And if you look at America right now, we've got gay marriage. I mean, again, there's nothing really to condemn America for unless you want to go back and blame America 50 years ago, 100 years ago. And if in your mind America 50 years ago, 100 years ago was a really evil place, then I guess some of this might be sensible. Cuba, climate change, I mean, all of the agenda items were hit. Here's the next from Obama.
You remind us that the Lord's most powerful message is mercy. And that means welcoming the stranger with empathy and a truly open heart. From the refugee who flees war-torn lands to the immigrant who leaves home in search of a better life. We are grateful for your invaluable support of our new beginning with the Cuban people, which holds out the promise of better relations between our countries, greater cooperation across our hemisphere, and a better life for the Cuban people.
Am I off track in thinking I'm listening to somebody thank the Pope for help with politics? The advancement of a political agenda we have here. We must open our heart to a refugee who flees war-torn lands. By the way, speaking of that, as it concerns Europe, we now have it on record, and it's in the stack, and I will get to it today, that among those leading this effort, many of them are now publicly saying that the objective is to take over Europe and transform it and change it. And these are European leaders. These are European leftists. These are European Union people. These are not representatives of the refugees. These are existing current European Union leaders who, for some reason, want to erase their own history or condemn their own history and transform Europe. Just like there are people in the United States who say that's the purpose of immigration here, is to, and other policies from the White House here, is to transform this country from what it was founded to be. So the left is on a worldwide march here. And the President of the United States is spelling out what the agenda is and thanking the Vicar of Christ for his assistance in advancing the agenda. You will hear in an upcoming soundbite from Major Garrett that the Pope and Obama shared their mutual feelings regarding the constraints of fame and celebrity in getting things done. meaning the Pope and the president sat down and told each other how tough it is to move things forward when you're famous like they are, and when you are celebrities like they are. That Major Garrett reports this. So I don't know, the Pope says he's not a leftist, he's not a Marxist. Fine, I will leave that alone. But what we do know is this, that Obama is treating him as such and using him as such. And Obama is co-opting this visit by the Pope. I'll stop short of using the word hijacking. He's co-opting the Pope's visit. What I think is a pretty shameless attempt to advance his own political agenda by associating the Pope with it. So far, the Pope hasn't said anything when these Obama sound bites were made. When Obama was speaking, the Pope hadn't said anything yet. So Obama's thanking him for all of this assistance that he's providing. And we were told yesterday this is what was going to happen, and the Pope was going to provide the cover for Obama's agenda. And it may not be necessary. The Pope may, in fact, be totally on board for this. Don't know. Just sharing with you what I do know. Quick time out, much more coming straight ahead after this. Okay. I'm glad I asked. So I have a question. If the Pope does not talk about abortion on his trip here in his public statements, I don't mean during Mass or anything, but in events like this today where he did not, in any future events, if he does not address abortion, does that tell us anything? Or does it not mean anything? Does it tell us anything about him or not? I'm just asking. You think it does? Well, the reason I ask is because of this. Yeah, that is funny. Obama's brother's still living in a hut. You know, that's right. You listen to Obama. We had a drive-by caller named Randy that couldn't go on the air, but he mentioned it snurtly that it was funny. He was listening to Obama talking about the poor, the Pope today, the insinuation we're not doing enough, and his brother still lives in a hut in Kenya. A 6x9 hut. Honestly, he still does. And what did we hear? $20 would make this all the difference in the world to this guy. I think it's his half-brother. A hut! And Obama can't do anything about it because if he gives one family member $20, they're all going to want $20. And he can't make that commitment. And by the way, as the Pope's sitting there and Obama starts spouting his left-wing agenda and by association including the Pope in it, where are all the howls from the left about separation of church and state? Hello, anybody? Anybody help me out with this? Here you have the President of the United States, and he's announcing his left-wing agenda and praising the Pope as being simpatico. Where's the concern for separation of church and state? Anyway, the abortion question, I ask it because of this. French news agency out of Los Angeles, a social media campaign has been launched by 3 U.S. activists to denounce the stigma surrounding abortion, and it has gone viral as women are now sharing positively their abortion experiences. Shout Your Abortion is the campaign. And it is a Twitter and social media campaign started over the weekend, designed to promote abortion and to tell everybody how wonderful it was and don't believe all of the negative things about it. Certainly there's no stigma attached to it. So that's why I just wondered if the Pope does not mention abortion during his visit here, does it tell us anything about him or not? Mean anything or not? Here's more Obama this morning from the arrival greeting ceremony of Pope Francis at the White House. We're up to number 3 now, right? We're plodding our way through this.
And, Holy Father, you remind us that we have a sacred obligation to protect our planet.
See?
God's magnificent gift to us. We support your call to all world leaders to support the communities most vulnerable to changing climate, and to come together to preserve our precious world for future generations.
So Pope is being thanked for his assistance at Cuba, refugees, immigration, and climate change. And the Pope sat there, smiled, nodded, and it was his turn to speak. And tell me if this... Well, here, how many Pope bites do we have? 1, 2, 3. Well, we can't squeeze them all in here, but we'll get started. Here's the first Pope bite.
Mr. President, I'm deeply grateful for your welcome in the name of the all Americans. As the son of an immigrant family, I'm happy to be a guest in this country, which was largely built by such families.
Well. So the Pope says, go ahead and count me in here on your immigration battle. I am related to immigrants, and immigrants built your country, and I'm a guest in your country, so count me in. So, got to take a time out here. Well, do I have time to squeeze it? No, I really don't. I could, but it would just put too much pressure here on the programming format, so we'll take a break. You know what the biggest car company in the world is? It's Volkswagen. Stun you what Volkswagen makes. You'd be stunned to learn all the cars they... Anyway, the CEO is resigning because of this controversy over the fact that they lied or made up things about their emissions report on diesel vehicles. And I just saw now that there's all kinds of lawsuits being filed and investigated. You think this is one of the most major, horrible crimes ever committed? Lying about emissions results on certain Volkswagen cars. And homelessness in L.A. Major emergency problem. Homelessness in L.A. You won't find Obama's name in the Los Angeles Times story, however.